Hello, everyone. Wow, it's that time of the year where the sun is up in the sky and it's so bright. And it's expected that by this time of the year, it is spring, right? The weather should be a bit warm. People can go out in their trousers and their slippers. But here in Prince George, we are still experiencing 6 degrees and it's so cold. However, we still need to step out, take a stroll, look around, see how the city looks like. So today I'm out. I'm looking at how things are going. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace Opare. You can simply call me Grace. And I know it's that time of the year you are preparing to submit your application for your study permit in Canada. This is the season where people who have secured admission to come and study in Canada put in all their efforts into preparing, gathering their documents to submit their visa application. At this time, you are anxious, you are jittery, you don't know how to go about it, or probably you have all your documents, you are thinking about how am I going to arrange my documents, how am I going to put everything together, what actually goes into the visa application process. It is that stage that you need to ensure that you put in all your efforts that will yield for you the needed results that you want. And this result is getting an approval for your study permit. So in today's video, I am going to discuss with you some of the mistakes that you need to avoid as you are preparing to submit your application for your study permits. These mistakes can cause you the denial of the visa, the study permits that you so much want to obtain. Some of these mistakes can lead to a visa refusal. Some of these mistakes sometimes even lead to a ban for 5 or 10 years from entering Canada. And in this video, I'm going to help you take notice of some of these mistakes and avoid it as you prepare to submit your application for your study permit. My name is Grace Opare. You can simply call me Grace. Welcome back to my channel. On this channel, we share information about learning, studying, and living in Canada. On this channel, we give information about how you can come to Canada as an international student, how you can migrate with your family as an international student, come, live, work in Canada. So if this is some of the contents that you are interested in, kindly subscribe to this channel so that whenever I post a video, you get notified and you come and watch. Kindly hit on the share and the like button so that this video, you can share this video for other people to see it. So without much ado, let's just go right into this video and let's take a look at some of these mistakes that you need to avoid as you are preparing to submit your visa application for a study permit to come to Canada. Okay, let's do this. So let's go into the mistakes. Mistake number 1, poorly written statement of purpose, SOP, or your letter of explanation, LOE. Most of the time, people do not take their time well to write out their statements of purpose, which gives them the opportunity to explain to the visa officer the reasons why they have chosen to study the particular course that they have applied for and why they want to study in Canada. Your statement of purpose is the opportunity for you to convince the visa officer that coming to Canada to study is relevant to you and is going to be relevant in your future career path that you have chosen, right? But most of the times, people do not take their time to put it well into writing. You may be wondering, what is the statement of purpose? The statement of purpose is a write-up that you include in your visa application to inform the visa officer about your interest in studying in Canada. In your statement of purpose, the visa officer is looking out for certain things. The visa officer is looking out for why you have decided to study in Canada or the relevance of the course that you have chosen to your career path. The visa officer may be expecting to see why you even chose that particular school that you have chosen and what your general career goals and life aspirations are. If the visa officer do not see these things in your statement of purpose, then he begins to wonder, why do you even want to study in Canada? Is it for a different reason? You understand? So when you are writing your statement of purpose, you make sure that you provide in details everything that the visa officer may want to see in your statement of purpose. You write it very well. Let whatever you've written be chronological. Let it tell a perfect story about yourself, your career goals, your life goals, your aspirations, why you want to study in Canada. Once the visa officer begins to read your statement of purpose, the visa officer should be able to see the chronological order of whatever thought you want to put across. Be reminded that in your Canada visa application, there is no interview. So you are not going to be present for the visa officer to ask you, why do you want to do this or why do you want to do that? So the statement of purpose offers you the opportunity to tell the visa officer whatever you want to tell him, should he have appeared face to face with you. So take your time, think through it well, and write a very good and perfect statement of purpose. Check for grammatical errors, check for chronology, check for your comprehension, and make sure that everything is well thought out and well written. Mistake number 2: poorly organized documents. Anyone who has done a Canadian visa application will attest to the fact that when you are doing your visa application, you deal with a lot of documents. So if you are going to do your visa application, you want to come to Canada, please be well reminded and be well prepared that you are going to deal with a lot of documents. These documents includes forms that you need to fill, mandatory forms that the IRCC is going to require of you to complete and upload in your account. Apart from these, there are supporting documents that you also need to add to make your application complete. So to be honest with you, the Canadian visa application entails a lot of documents. The documents are voluminous, and so you should be prepared to have a well thought out and sought out organized documents for your visa application. Sometimes people submit their application, then later they get to know that there was this important document that they did not attach in their application, or there was this important information that they should have included in their application, or there was a document that they should have properly organized. When their visas get refused and then an explanation is given to them by RLCC, then they get to know that they even had those information already, just that they did not include those information or documents in their application. And this will be as a result of how poorly they organized their documents in their visa application process. I have earlier indicated that there are certain mandatory forms or documents that you need to complete and upload it in your account. I usually advise people that get a note and make a list of all of these documents. You understand? So that you do not leave any of the essential documents out. You list out all these documents. Once you complete those forms, you take it. It makes you aware of the documents that you have already worked on and the ones that you are left to work on. You understand? And when you have completed these forms, you should name them properly. When you download a form, it usually comes with its own name. For instance, a form may come as IMM 020. For you to identify the kind of document that it is important for you to rename that document in accordance with the content of that document. So for instance, if it is the application form, when you downloaded it, it came with the name IMM250. It is important for you to add application form IMM205. So once you see that document, you know that this is the application form. It will also help you when you are uploading your documents. People make mistakes of uploading documents in the wrong places. There are slots, and you need to upload the correct documents in the correct slots. So you don't upload an application document in a slot where you have to put in your proof of funds. So please properly name your documents and label it in accordance with the content of that document. Again, when it comes to scanning your personal documents, which you are going to attach as your supporting documents in your application, it also comes with its own generated name. Most of the time when you scan a document, it comes with names like scan 001, scan 002, and you can have a lot of those names without properly knowing what kind of document is. So I always advise people that when you finish scanning your documents, you rename the document, so that if this document is your bank statement, and after scanning it comes with the name scan 001, you rename it bank statement or your statement of account, so that immediately you see that PDF document, you know that this is my bank statement, this is my proof of funds, and this is my statement of purpose. Another important thing is that when you name your documents and then you upload them in that manner, it makes it very easy for the visa officer who is assessing your document to identify them easily. You understand? If the visa officer opens your application and then he downloads all your documents and your supporting documents, and he's looking out for the statement of purpose, because you have properly named your documents, he goes into your file and then he's able to pick out your statement of purpose very easily. If he wants to check your bank statement, he goes into the file and he's able to pick out your bank statement very easily. You don't give the visa officer so much stress. Note, these visa officers are dealing with so much applications, and they have a lot of documents they need to review and go through. They don't have the time to be looking out for the documents that you have submitted without any names. It makes the work very tedious for them, and sometimes this may lead to dire consequences in your application. Mistake number 3 is the inadequate proof of funds. If you are coming to Canada to study as a student alone without your spouse or children, RRCC expects that you should be able to prove an amount of 10,000 Canadian dollars as your living expenses. This doesn't include your flight or your tuition. So when you are calculating your proof of funds, you add your tuition fee to the 10,000 Canadian dollars, which is your living expenses, and then you add your flight. So if, for instance, your tuition is 20,000 Canadian dollars plus the living expenses of 10,000 Canadian dollars, that makes it 30,000 Canadian dollars. Then let's say you have a flight cost of 2,000, that makes it 32,000 Canadian dollars. What this means is that in your proof of funds, you should have an amount of money that is not less than 32,000 Canadian dollars. If the amount of money in your statement is less than 32,000 Canadian dollars, it means that you do not have enough funds to cover your expenses and your study here in Canada, and that may lead to a refusal of your visa application. So you make sure that when you are putting in your application, you have enough proof of funds to cover your tuition, your living expenses, and then your flights. One mistake that people usually do when it comes to proof of funds is putting in lump sum of money into their bank account without any proper explanation. So I usually advise people that when you are putting in your application for proof of funds, attach a letter of explanation to it. In this letter of explanation, you indicate where the money in your account is coming from, right? You state who is sponsoring you, what are the sources of the income in your bank statements or in the bank statements that you have attached to your application. Where did you get the money from? Is it from your employment? If it is from your employment, then you need to add your pay slip or your employment letter as evidence. Did you sell a property? If you sold a property, then it is advisable that you add the documents that proves that you actually sold this property and the amount of money you accrued from it. Did you take a bank loan to raise money to sponsor your education in Canada? You need to provide evidence from the bank that you actually took this amount of money from the bank. So what I'm trying to say is that you should have sufficient amount of money in your bank statement to prove that you are capable of taking care of yourself whilst in Canada. Add a letter of explanation to tell the visa officer where you got the money from, who is sponsoring you, and how you raised that money, to convince them that indeed that money in their bank account is yours or is accessible to you, and that you can make use of it for your living here in Canada. Mistake number 4 is you not subscribing to my channel. Okay, don't mind me, I was just kidding. But if you have watched this video up to this point, kindly take some time and hit on that subscribe button, share the video, and like it as well. Okay, so now let's go back to business. Mistake number 4 is weak home ties. How well do you prove that you have ties to your home country? Mind you, in every visa application, and especially in your Canada study permit application, you need to tell the visa officer that indeed you are coming to Canada to study, but after studies you are coming back to your home country. Please, you don't tell the visa officer, or you don't include in your application that when I finish school I'm going to look for work in Canada and stay. No, that is going to lead to a refusal. You tell them that after school you are coming back to your home country. Although the Canadian government is opening up opportunities for people to immigrate to Canada through the right pathways, they also want you to convince them that indeed after your studies you'll be returning to your home country. And so the visa officer is looking out for the things you have in your home country to go back to or to return to, and that is your home ties. Is it your family? So you can tell the visa officer that you have a family back in your home country. If you are married and you are traveling alone, you can use your spouse and your children as your home ties. Is it your career? Are you well or gainfully employed? Your employment can be your home tie. Do you have assets, properties? Do you have a house, a land? Or do you have a business that you are running? All of these can come into play as your ties to your home country. And you need to write it well, so much that the visa officer is convinced that indeed you are going to return to your home country after the completion of your studies. If you have photographs to support your home ties or documents, please attach them. If you have a family, you can upload your family photos. If you have a business, you can upload your business registration certificates. If it's your property, you can upload the documents of these properties, so that the officer knows that you are not just saying you have these ties in your home country, but you've actually proved it with evidence. You understand? Evidence based. And that is one of the things that you should look out for, and a mistake you should avoid when you are submitting your visa application. Mistake number 5. This is very, very important. It's very dear to my heart. And this mistake is the presentation of false documents or falsifying documents to deceive the visa officer. Sometimes people contact me and they are like, Grace, can you do this for me? Can you generate bank statements for me? Can you do that for me? Please, I need to say emphatically that I do not do that. I know there are people who we usually call connection men who go to every extent to falsify documents for people in their visa application. I am not one of them. And I want to use this opportunity to tell everyone who is interested in coming to Canada to study to desist from the presentation of false documents, because falsifying documents in your application has very dire and grievous consequences, not just for today, but even for your future. If you are able to present a false document and the visa officer doesn't even detect it in your visa application, and let's say your visa application was successful and you come to Canada, there is always the greater probability that you are going to be found out in later years to come. Recently, about 700 international students were deported from Canada. These students were deported because they had presented false documentation in their visa application. When you come to Canada and you complete your school, and probably you want to apply for permanent residence, the immigration in Canada do extensive background check on you. And it is out of this background check that they came to know that about 700 of these students they deported came into Canada with falsified documents. So they were successful with their visa application, but when they finally arrived, they were sent back, they were deported back home because of false documents. If you are not lucky, and then in the course of your visa application, the embassy is able to determine that your documents are false, it comes with a ban. You may be sanctioned and banned from entering Canada for about 5 to 10 years. And there is no guarantee that even after serving this ban, you are going to be given the opportunity to come to Canada for whatever reason you want to. And be mindful, these countries, USA, Canada, UK, they share information. So if you present a false document in the application to Canada and you want to go to the US and they ask about it, they are going to know you if you falsify the documents with your Canada application. And that is also the case for you have the opportunity to travel to the US or any other part of the world. So if you can present a genuine document, genuine bank statements, genuine academic results to secure that you are looking out for. Why don't you do so? Why do you worry yourself to falsify documents? Even if you present genuine documents and your visa application is denied, there is always the opportunity for you to reapply and get your visa application approved the second time. There are a lot of people whose visas were denied for the first time, but they got approval on their second one day or even their third trial. So why don't you look at taking up this opportunity, doing it genuinely, get a refusal, do it again, and then you get approval, than to use other means and then get a ban for 5 to 10 years, shattering your dream of ever coming to Canada to stay. Thank you so much for watching.